It's time for Damn Good Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Shelby Clement. From corporate executive to CEO to entrepreneur and the founder of Damn Good Marketing Live. This podcast is all about digital marketing, building a business you love, and creating a brand that's authentic to who you are. So if you're ready for honest, raw marketing conversations that you will not find anywhere else, let's freaking get it. I'm your host, Shelby Clement, and I finally have my girl, Angie Lee, on this freaking podcast with me. We've been in the DMs. Our energy levels are about the exact same, probably a little bit more than what you probably want to hear in your earbuds today. But hey, I'm here for it. It's like when me and Keisha got on one together and I was like, they are not ready.
Yeah, we're all just Enneagram 7s, just ready to just like be
Party.
so extra. And you know what? If people don't want guacamole, then they don't have to pay for it, you know?
No, they kick rocks, go somewhere else, leave it, turn it off, take your earbuds out. Earbuds. You know what? Whatever. Angie, welcome to the show. Tell everybody who you are. Give us the lowdown of Angie.
Yeah. So in the Cliff Notes, I was what I call, a rebellious college dropout. I always knew since I was little that I never wanted to follow the rules. I didn't want to go to corporate. ADHD, very creative, very multi-passionate. So I was like, I'm not going to go to college and like get a regular job. Like that's just not happening. Nobody's going to hire me. Corporate is not going to appreciate my wild and my weird. So I always kind of had an idea that I wasn't made for corporate, but it wasn't until I was in college for about 2 years and I was going to be a dietitian because I was obsessed with health and wellness. And I asked the girl next to me how many hours we were going to work and how much we were going to make. And I can still remember to this day what she said. And I was just like, does your podcast swearing or no?
You can, it's called Damn, but go for it.
Okay. I'm gonna say fudge. I'm gonna say fudge sticks.
Okay, go for it. There you go.
For your PG-13 audience, I will say fudge sticks. I was like, fudge sticks, no. Like that's not happening, right? I'm not working like 80 hours a week to make nothing. So I had this health and wellness blog. So I would be blogging while I was taking tests in college. Literally, I was like working my blog spot, had no idea what I was doing, but I was like, you know what? This seems fun. I was sharing health and wellness tips with women. I was in Chicago at the time. So I would do these little meetups where I would tell women, I would literally put flyers at the train stations or at yoga studios or at Lululemon. And I would say, come to this fitness and empowerment event. Like no idea what the hell I was doing. I was just like, oh, this seems fun. Like literally just pulling shit out of my butt. I mean, I was like 20, 21, 22. So like,
I love that. You just did it.
This is like 12 years ago. So I was just like, this is before like it was cool to like be online and do all those things. So I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't think this was going to be a job or make money. I was just like, I'm bored. I'm $100,000 in debt. I don't know what else to do. I don't want to go to corporate. I'm going to see if I can make some money blogging and doing these little fitness events for women. And then I was personal training. I was doing like kitchen makeovers for my nutrition clients. I would go in and like rearrange their kitchen with their fridge. So I was like really trying to basically make enough to pay my bills so then I could create videos in my blog on the weekends and after I was working. And so I started doing these events. Obviously in the beginning, like 2 or 3 women showed up. They were in the park. I found a DJ on Craigslist. My budget was $0. So I would like make friends with the guy who owned the venue. And I'd be like, hey, can I come into your backyard and like host a little event next week? And he'd be like, sure, whatever. Like, I don't care. And so I did that until they started to grow. And women were like, wait, this is really good. And then my social media started to grow and I became obsessed with digital marketing and I started studying it at 23, 24 years old. I was like, this is going to be something one day. Like maybe I could make enough money where this could be my job. So I would stay up late just studying digital marketing like a nerd. And I had no idea what was happening. My mom's like, you're crazy, but okay, go for it.
Yeah.
If you think this is going to work. So what started as just an ebook sale here and there, I think a granola brand paid me like $20 to put their name on my blog. And I thought I was rich. I was like, oh my God, this is the best day ever. Like, mom, don't worry about me. I'm loaded, And then I started doing coaching and then I learned how to put together a course. And so I was doing that in the wellness space for a few years, figured that out, really enjoyed that and crushed that. And what happened is then women started asking me, how did you build an online brand? How did you get into blogging? And then I started a podcast and then these events that you're doing for women, and women started asking me how. And I was like, well, I'm just figuring this out as I go. And I'm kind of just putting the pieces together when it comes to marketing. So then I got into 24 to 28-ish was basically when I was really heavy into teaching digital marketing, organic marketing, personal branding, teaching women everything from how to set up their website. I can still remember the first time a girl messaged me and she's like, hey, will you help me set up my website and my brand? and I didn't know what to charge her. So I think I asked her for like $100 for like 12 weeks of coaching.
Holy shit. Oh, how times have changed, huh? But you
I
didn't
was like,
know.
yeah, like $100 sounds good. She's like, okay. So she gave me $100 or
Yeah.
something. And then I started learning how to, I think naturally I've always loved marketing. I've always loved humans, but I think I started to really learn how to help other women to monetize online as I was doing it with events and sponsors and courses and digital products. And then that turned into the podcast growing. I have a physical wellness brand now with my brother that we've grown. Because I was like, okay, now I want to get into physical products, events, speaking. It's all started from me taking this risk and taking this chance of like, what if I just started putting myself out there online and sharing content with women? And I always say it went from like wellness to marketing to personal development. And now a lot of it's comedy. So it's kind of like I've dabbled in a bunch of different spaces. And now
Yeah.
I'm like a blend of all of it. So yeah. And who knows what's next. So
So I want to just take like one key component that you said, literally for everyone listening, because everyone listening, truly my audience is like, yes, I want to chase this bigger dream. Yes, I want to get out of this small town mentality. Yes, I want to do this, but like I'm not qualified. I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. If you listen to the first 8 minutes, well, past the first two that we were like silly Billy in it, um, you just showed up messy and you said, I don't
oh
know
yeah.
what the hell I'm doing, but I know that I'm gonna do it because I
Yeah.
know corporate's not for me, and I know I was made for more in another
Yeah.
way. I don't know what this looks like. I don't know how much to charge, but I'm gonna just do it.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I think if you listen to her story, now look at her now. She's got grandma in the back watching her. What would your advice be to people
Yeah.
that like one, we live in a world of so much overconsumption of social media, of
Yeah.
consumption, of watching other people's 10 years down the road, a million hours down the road, whatever the case may be, successful launches, successful businesses, and they're so intimidated to start. What is your
Yeah.
advice on just being okay to start messy? No one wants to see perfection.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's the biggest thing that holds people back. And my saying that it's a book that I have not finished. And I don't know if one day I'll write it, to be honest. I put it on pause. I think it's not the book for me, but I do think the name is beautiful, is Ready as a Lie. And
Yeah,
essentially what that means is you're never really going to fully feel like, ooh, I am the person to put on this event or start this podcast or launch this course or do one-on-one coaching or start this physical product brand. I mean, when Mike and I started our physical product brand, I mean, yeah, I had an audience. Yeah, I was doing events. So I am always very honest that building an audience before launching a physical product was the smartest thing I could do to ensure that it would have at least some success off the
yeah,
ground. But Mike and I, my brother and I, we didn't have experience in DTC e-commerce. Mike was a professional athlete. I was doing my coaching, my courses, my events, my podcasting. I was very well rehearsed in the digital marketing space, but I didn't know shit about packaging a product and selling supplements and like how does that work? Where do you go get the product and how do you like there's so much that goes into a physical product that I always tell women like the digital space is so easy compared to the physical space.
yeah,
It's like digital space you could just like have such a low overhead and you're like you could just put something out tomorrow, make money and your overhead's like nothing. Physical products like it requires so much more work and a team and it's a whole thing, right? People are ingesting this product. So we didn't know what the frick we were doing, but
yeah,
we put our money into it. I remember I took $60,000 of my coaching money and I was like, if I never see this again, that's fine, but I'm going to risk this. And we put that in there. And now Soul is massive and it's blown up. And so it's like crazy that it all started with, again, that moment of like, maybe this could be something, let's just go for it. And of course, there's been many failures along the way, but I've always been really, I don't know if I'd say it's natural to me, but I think I'm not afraid to be messy. I'm not afraid to look stupid. I'm not afraid to look stupid. I think that is like huge. Obviously, if they watch my weird videos, they know I'm not afraid to look stupid. I purposely look stupid to be funny. I love it. But like, I think that's a huge part of it. And I'm
yeah,
sure you experience this too. It's like, why are we so afraid to look silly? Why are we so afraid to look messy and awkward? Like, I'd rather look silly and awkward and like, what is she doing than not do it at all? So, like,
yes,
I'm always having to remind myself this now as I'm like, okay, what are my next goals? It's like, all right, if it's stupid or it doesn't work, whatever, at least I tried, right? Like, so many
yes.
people are afraid to start a podcast because they're like nervous that nobody's going to listen. I'm like, well, dude, nobody's going to listen if you don't do.
Do it anyway. What if you just
So
like
like,
have one
you're already
listener?
in your worst case scenario.
I know. I just think that what happens is like people have such a gift of some sort when they figure it out that they let fear stop them. And like that is just so sad to me because of they're scared of what other people are going to think. When in
Yeah.
reality, people always have an opinion. So whether you sit still on this dream of yours and don't do anything, or you make a move and they make fun of you because you're now on the internet pursuing your dreams, being a motivator to someone else that out there that needs you, like let it be, let it go. Get weird, be weird, be you, show up authentic to yourself because that's truly the only thing that's going to build that connection. And you would have never gotten to where you are today if you wouldn't have shown up, if you wouldn't have gotten friends with the guy and said, "Can I use your backyard? I have $0 to do this." And shown up for women and shown them how to do this and like created such a space for them to be weird, to be funny, to be themselves. And now you have a freaking brand. Talk about it. A brand that is blown up that people love and that respect and that want to support you. So give us a
Yeah.
little bit more about your product that you've developed. Tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about that. Tell us about the journey. Tell us all of
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, was sold the physical product?
it. Yes. Get
Yeah,
sold.
it's crazy. We started in what 20 well, 20 like 16 we had the idea, 2017, wait, 2016, 2017 we officially launched. I can still remember the day we like clicked go live on the website. We were just like, "All right, shit. Hopefully
Bro,
hopefully people buy this."
no turning back
And I
now.
yeah, we're like, "Oh god, this is awkward" because we put money into it. So it's so scary, especially when you put money into something that you don't know how it's going to turn out because you're like, all right, this is either going to be, I'm going to either be rich or poor. Here we go.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think that it was really us getting gritty. My brother's the CEO and he really got gritty with like, if we don't know something, let's call someone and hire a mentor who's 2 steps ahead.
Yes.
So we always did that and especially in the cannabis CBD space, we didn't know. And so we were like, where's the farm? Okay, we got to find the farms. Okay. Now we got to figure out how we set up our Shopify and our website. Okay. What are the products? How many SKUs should we have? What should we call them? How do we do testing to make sure it's safe? How do we make sure it works? You're working with labs. You're like literally doing so much to ensure that this product gets to someone's doorstep. And from the moment they check out to the moment they ingest it, like that's a smooth process. And it's pretty incredible that we didn't have experience in that, but Mike just kept saying, okay, let's just keep hiring people smarter than us. And let's just keep learning as we go and start small. And I can remember, I'm not patient. And so something I need to work on. Mike was very patient. And so he was like, listen, one day we'll have the money to have like cute boxes and cute branding. But when we start, let's just keep it simple and, just see if it works. And I was like, no, I want this in the box and I want women to experience it this way and, all this stuff. And he was like, we have to start small. Okay. We don't have money yet for boxes. We just started yesterday. Like we
Yeah.
first need to see if this works, proof of concept. And so we did that for a while. I would say the first few months were just getting feedback. The biggest thing that I'm big about in marketing, that I'm sure you are as well, is I think any great marketer is, whether it's physical products or courses I've done or events or anything, is I'm obsessed with listening to my audience. Like
Yeah.
I am in it with my audience. And when people say like, how do you sell out things so fast or how does it work? I'm like, well, I'm with my community. I'm in it with them and I actually care about them. And we ask them, what do you like? What flavor do you want to see next? What products do you guys want to see next? What pain point are you struggling with? So it's not just like, oh, let's come up with something and put it out there and see if people like it. To me, great marketing is symbiotic and it's really listening to your customer and then working backwards. It's not pulling something out of your butt and saying, oh my God, I think people should buy this thing because I think it's cool. That's
Yeah.
not really marketing. Marketing is honestly saying there's a problem out there and then working backwards and you creating a solution. And so I've always done that. So it's always been a lot easier than me just like coming up with anything. And so every single one of our products, our chill caps, our sleep line, everything is from people telling us like, hey, I struggle with that. So can you create this? And so, yeah, now we have a huge team and it's grown into something bigger than we thought. But in the beginning, it was just me, Mike. My mom would help us pack boxes. I would do every single box myself in a guest bedroom in LA. Like I was the shipping. I would go to FedEx
Yeah.
and I would like walk to FedEx with my boxes. I was like, da, da, da.
But I feel like that made you to who you are, into who you
Yeah.
are, and then also where the business is because you got to appreciate like when you support a small business, not that you're small
Mhm.
anymore, but like a small business
Yeah.
to a point of like you click and you buy, the excitement you got when you got to package that box and
Yeah.
walk into UPS and be like, I will hand deliver this shit to you. Like I'm good because our hard work
Yeah.
paid off.
Yeah. It is weird to think because I remember at the time thinking like, I don't know, when you're in it, it's just so, and I feel like this applies to so many different areas of life, but when you're in it, the hard part, like it's not fun and you're like, oh, get me out of this. And I assume like, I don't know, some of this, so much of this, I can't wait to be a mom and experience this, but I feel like so much of it's probably similar. In like the beginning, you're like, oh, this is like, grow up faster. Like, let me get past this like hard stage. But now I look back at videos of like us packing boxes in the spare bedroom. And like, I have such a like, it's like melancholy. Like it's like this fondness. It's like this, oh, like those were the days.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't somebody tell me, like, you're actually going to miss these days of
Yes.
doing this? Like, you're going to miss this where now it's like Soul's all grown up. It's not our little baby anymore. And it's kind of like, it's got a mind of its own. And now we've got a marketing director and he's doing like, it's so many people's hands are on it now. And like, I'm like, oh, bye. See you.
Yeah.
You're in college now. Like, and then we're going to sell it. So it's like, oh my God, we're going to sell my baby, you know? So it's like very surreal and sad and crazy because you like kind of want to go back to the beginning in a weird way. So that's a reminder I always want to tell women is I know when you're in the beginning phases of launching things, it seems like it's not fun and it sucks, but there is a part of you that's going to look back and miss these days. Like these are the days. Like I kind of miss when it was gritty and I was like, oh wow, only 3 people at my event. Awesome. Like, let's go. And now I'm like, my last one was 1,000 and I literally didn't think it was enough. Yeah, I didn't think it was enough. I literally got off that stage and I was like, I got to do 3,000 next one. So we planned Chicago 2020. It was going to be 3,000 women. Well, obviously, you know what happened in 2020, so it didn't happen. But like, I remember being so hard on myself about that, which is so sad because there was a version of me that was so grateful for 3 people. But it
Yeah.
just shows the line keeps moving. And then you constantly, if you don't like celebrate, you think it's not enough. So even with Soul now, it's like, oh my God, how do we get to like 20 million, 30 million, right? And it's like, we're not even, it's hard to then be present to be like, dude, there was a day where like our first order was $50 and like that meant everything to us. And now you just lose track of it. And so that's something I've been thinking about lately. It's like, wow, the line really shifts.
Yes, it's so
You
funny
know?
you said that. And I'm like that. I'm glad that you brought this up. Wow, I can't speak today. Because in the beginning, you always think like, oh my God, this shit is so hard. When you're in the nitty gritty of it,
Yeah.
like I always go back because I tell everybody to video everything. Like I wish someone told me this, like when I first started. I did video a lot or I did like document a lot, but like I really wish I would have documented way more from like
Mm.
where I started to where I am now or to be excited. But I totally get what you're saying because like my first ever event was in 2022. I did a free event
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
thought it was only going to be like 80 people show up, or actually 80 people signed up, and I thought like 40 people were going to show up. And like 10 minutes before it started, there was like 20 people in the room. And John, my husband, my whole family was there. He was like, God, please just bring her like 10 more people. And
Yeah.
before the day was over,
Oh.
there was 120 people sitting in the room.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
And then literally last year was the DGML's first one. But like you get excited, but you're like, okay, now I want more. And now I want more.
Yeah.
That's us as humans. But like I'm trying to do exactly what you just said, like
Yeah.
sit present in the moment and say, I'm very proud of what I've done and
Yeah.
how successful X was, whatever that X is to
Yeah.
you that's listening, because you once dreamed of this moment. And actually, right now,
Yeah.
if I was being very honest to myself, I would have never, ever, ever imagined that my life would be where it is right now when I left.
Oh,
Like when I walked out of
yeah.
corporate, I was like, I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to
And
try
then
it.
how many years has it been for you? Only not that many, right?
No, I'm about to hit 3 in May.
Oh my gosh. See, that's like so cool to me. Cause that's like, this is still really new to you in a way. And it's like yeah, like I've been doing this since I was 19. So for me, I'm like, oh shit, this shit's old now.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, you're still excited. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. You loving this. Yeah. Like it's new for you, but it's like, that's so cool because like for you, it's like you have this experience in corporate though that you can learn so much from that. And like that actually can be advantages to you to having more compassion for women who are in corporate until their 30s. And then like all of a sudden are like, wait, I'm not happy. Like I'm making money, but it's like, I want to do something fun and different. I don't just want to be in my corporate boring job forever. And so yeah, I think it's that dance between like contentment and being grateful while also being someone who wants more. But I
Yeah.
always tell women with events, like, dude, like 100 people, even getting 100 people just in a room is something that I think people don't realize only like a sliver of the population will ever do and or be able to do. Like that's still a lot of people. Most
So
people don't even know 100 people to call to like come over to their house right now for a party. Like to get 100 people in a room means you have a level of influence. So I tell most women, like if your event has 50 women, even that's amazing. Like that's 50 heartbeats. That's 50 humans. Like that's a lot of people.
in there for you that you've
Yeah.
crafted something that they want
Yeah.
to be a part of or want to learn
Yeah.
more from. So I like to
Yeah.
tell myself that too, because when I worked in corporate, my goal was to be a CMO. I was like,
Uh,
now I look at my life and I'm like, okay, no, I want to help
yeah.
people fulfill their dream, whether that is in corporate or whether that is going out and being an entrepreneur or being the best mom that you could be or whatever the case may be. Like, I just want to impact you in a way that we bust through all small town mentality, because that's what I don't know how we grew up, but with
Yeah,
us,
small town.
small town mentality is a thing, and people are so scared to go against the grain. And now that you're listening to this podcast right now in this moment, you're listening to two people, one that said, F you corporate. I don't want to do that because I'm not working. I'm not trading my time for dollars because that just doesn't make sense. I'm going to do something way bigger and better. And I'm going to trust in the process. That's what she did. She trusted in the damn process. And now look, you have a multi-million-dollar company that you were like, oh, it's my baby. I don't even know what it's doing over there. And then you put events on, like your next event is coming up, right? Can we talk about it?
Well, I'm look at you're catching, this is real, like, this is the real shit, right? The real vulnerability. I'm really nervous. I'm about to sign the contract because we have this venue here in Austin that we're looking at, but like the whole venue thing and finding the spot and picking the date, that in itself is a whole part that no one sees. I'm like, this is, there's so much that goes into it. I already have a headache. I'm like, okay, got to figure out a date that works. And then once you figure that out, but yeah, we're 98% sure this is the venue I want. I was maybe going to take everybody to a water park instead, actually, but because the whole event is about, trying to think if I want to give your people the name. It's a really juicy name. Basically, the whole event is the opposite.
Wait,
what do you say?
When is your release date?
What do you mean? Like when the event would be?
World.
Well, I'm talking to my videographer right now about creating this really cool, fun video that would release the name. Because essentially it's going to be similar, but different to my last event. My last event was very, probably a lot similar to the one you're doing in that it's like female empowerment and marketing. And it was great. But I felt like for me right now in this season of my life, I'm like, what I'm really craving is more play. And I want like almost the opposite of it. Like that's like work, and I want the playground. I want the place where women could come who are like, dude, I'm so burnt out. I'm so sick of learning. I'm an information overload. Like, I'm just tired. I just want girlfriends. Like, yeah, I'm like ambitious, but like, can we just go have fun? Like, that's what I'm like so good at. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to lean into that a lot. So the event's going to be just like dancing meets networking, meets a party, meets inspiration, meets a comedy show, meets like the most fun 2 days of your life where you just like go play and like do yoga or whatever. So I have this really big, weird idea for it. So I think that scares me because I'm like, oh my God, I know this is a thing people want, because I get it in my DMs. Women are like, dude, I'm so burnt out. Like, please just make it fun. Like, I don't want to I don't want to learn. I just want to have fun. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like trying to like put all these like interesting parts into it. So I think it's going to be end of October here in Austin, October 25th to 26th. And the tagline is the ultimate playground for ambitious women. So it's like the antithesis of school. So I don't know if that gave you a hint for what the name is, but if you guess, I'll tell you.
I'm really bad at guessing. I don't want to.
Oh, never mind that.
I don't want to do this game, but I love this idea.
I kind of do want to tell you though, just so it's like on your show secretly, and then it's called.
Shut up!
Yeah.
So I feel like I knew this. How did I know this? Maybe it was my intuition.
Oh wow, yeah. So it's called, which nobody guessed. You're gonna take your like notebook and they're gonna like throw it, and we're gonna be like, let's just like let go. Like, let's just have the best time ever. So, I think I'm gonna do that. And then I'm considering doing like some live podcasts here in Austin too, just because I miss live experiences. I mean, you have one. They're the best.
Dude, so good. And I just did my first live podcast with someone at Casey at my retreat. I did it for my girls at my retreat because I don't really know how to do that. Like, I've never done it. Yeah. But the experience is so cool. So I want to start incorporating that too, because I think that's like, some of your audience would really like to like be in the room with you while you are recording, because it's still so cool. It's like literally the coolest.
Yeah, I just don't know how many are in Austin, but I mean, enough for like a few, or if people happen to be in town, like it could just be like 10 people for those. That's just like small recordings,
Yes.
Yeah. Are you thinking of doing that? It's so fun. I feel like it's like a way to like have an event without like an overhead or anything. You just like show up at a studio,
Yes. Or you show up in a room and it can literally be as many as 20 people.
Yeah. Yeah. And just like have fun, give out soul. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, is like, I think that there's this like missing gap with personal development. I think that people, it's gotten so serious sometimes. And I think that like infusing this play, I think play is medicine. And I think it's so important. Like, that's where your creative energy comes from. That's where ideas have come from. Like, almost allowing yourself to play to then be able to be more successful. And so I'm really wanting to like lean into that because, yeah, it's hard, man. I think as a female entrepreneur, it's like, it can just get so intense and then you get burnt out and it's like so much. And so that's something I've been like considering, but yeah, live events are so much work.
There's so much work, but hey, you know what? When I walked off the stage last year, I was like, this is what I want to do. Because I love teaching. I love like being in front of her. Like I feel my most authentic self when I walk off the stage. Like, you know what I mean? Like I just completed
Yeah.
something really good and I touched one person. And so, like,
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that aspect of it. So, yes, it
Yeah.
is a lot of work and, like, it is very stressful to get the speakers and to get the lineup and to,
Mm.
like, make sure everybody's doing it because 'cause I'm, like, this overachiever where I wanna make sure I give, 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 give,
Yeah.
and make sure they get something from it. That probably is the most overwhelming, and I'm always so nervous because, like, I remember last year literally sitting in my bed, reading the feedback forms into, like, each one,
Yeah.
and I remember like, I was crying, I was excited, I was all the things, and even when I got feedback that wasn't even negative to me, it was just, like, feedback to make it better for next year.
Yeah.
I remember just loving that because it goes back to, like, you talking about listening to your community, listen to what they want, like, you're bringing something to them, and the only way it gets better and the only way that you can continue to give them what they need is by listening to them. It's not about me,
Yeah.
it's about them,
Yeah.
you know? So
Yeah, 100%. It's like the only way to really have it feel also like what's the purpose of all of this unless you're like actually connecting with humans? Like
yes,
to me, it's like that's the greatest joy in my life is answering my DMs and talking to people and meeting people. Like I don't want to do this just so I'm like a robot. And it's like putting out this offer and then you buy it's like everything's so digital now, that it's like, oh, it kind of gets boring then. You're like, what's the point? Like am I is there someone there behind the thing? Like, hello, like you want to feel the people. And so I think what live events do is they always remind me, like, oh my God, like they inspire me to keep going. I'm like, oh, this is real. This is worth it. Like this girl is like been following me for years and like this means something to her. Like this is purposeful. Like this helps. And so I think sometimes online we can get in our heads and forget that. We're just like, oh, whatever, content, likes, followers, product, it just gets so monotonous that it's like, wait, these are real people like
yes,
who you're helping. And so it's so cool. Like I think it's so worth
right.
it. I mean, they're expensive to put on. There's so much work, but it's like that feeling when you get to like be in the room with people is so fun. It's like a high. It's like a high like unlike anything
Wait,
else.
I yes. It is
What'd you say?
literally something that is like it's so hard to explain it. Like like just agreeing like
Yeah.
everything that you just said is so real because like I think people are craving live events and more human to human interaction because like we had all this before COVID. We had all
Yeah.
these
And there
things.
was
And then
yeah.
now it's starting to gear back up for us and people are like I want human interaction. Like I want to be in
Yeah.
the room. And so I love that you talked about literally just it's like a high when you're in the room.
I was gonna say, I've been wanting to do a post on this. I think people assume if somebody's done something at a certain level or achieved a certain thing that they're not nervous anymore. And I just wanted my vision, if and when I'm doing this event, is to document the entire process of like getting back into it again. Obviously, it's been a few years. And so I'm terrified again and I'm scared. Like something that like I was so friggin' good at it. I
Yes.
was like one of the OGs in the space crushing it. And then all these women did events after me. So I'm like, I shouldn't be afraid. Like, but yet I'm terrified again. I feel like I'm a newbie again. I feel like I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't promoted an event or done this in a long time. And so I want people to know that because I think we assume that everybody's just, oh, they've done it. So they don't, it doesn't bother them anymore. They're not nervous. And so, yeah, I'm excited. But I think definitely, like you said, I think people are just craving live experiences even more than ever because of that time of like being shut down. So, um, I think that's good for us who want to put together that experience for women.
Yeah, and I think too, what people do think, like I had Jillian on the I mean not the podcast in the group coaching earlier, and like I went to Lori's event and I heard her say this as well. Is
Yeah.
like just because the more successful you get or the more times you do something doesn't mean that you won't be nervous or doesn't mean you won't have imposter syndrome. It's just a different level of those said things, and you just get
Yeah.
used to it. Like you get used to how to
Yeah.
handle certain things, and so I think a
Yeah.
lot of times what it is, because I used to be that person until I actually inserted myself into like last year I was in Jasmine's mastermind. That's the first time I've ever been around someone in this space. And then I went to Keisha's event and then I met Trent. And then like it just kind of like
Mhm.
I've met all these different people. I've met Jara. I've met like all these other people that are to me from the outside, which yes, they are more successful than I am, but at the same time, they've been doing this a lot longer. And so I got to
Mhm.
hear firsthand because I used to think the same thing where, oh, they don't get nervous anymore, or they don't deal with imposter syndrome. They just know how to manage it and how to continue to keep going with those feelings that we still feel at whatever stage you are in your business.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If anything, I think it can go in stages where it feels harder because you have more to lose.
Yes.
You're like, oh, I have more people, more eyeballs. It's easy to do a Facebook Live if one person's watching, but then if there's more, you have more, you have a sense of the fear can increase actually too. But I remember thinking that would go away. Like, oh, once you make a certain amount or have a certain amount of followers, like it just goes away, right? It's like, oh no, you always feel like you're still you. You're still like, I'm scared. I'm so scared. It never
Yeah.
goes away. Makes it fun, right? Like I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, isn't it kind of fun though? Like the butterflies, like of doing something that kind of scares you. Like, wouldn't that be boring if we didn't? And I think that I, yeah, that inspired me to get out of like this little rut I've been in where it's like, wait, you like doing things that scare you. Like that's where the fun is. Like, you know?
Yes. It means you're still excited about what you're doing, whatever that looks like, whatever that is. You still have that excitement. You still have that passion, that energy to produce something that's so good. When I believe that when you get nervous, that's what that is. Because like people will tell me all the time, like I preach, like get on video, you need to show your face. Cause I mean, I have an agency on the other side of my personal brand. And it's like, if you want to separate yourself from your competitor, you have to put your face in front of the camera and talk. You have to build the trust. You have to
Yeah.
build that authentic brand. You have to do whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Get with emotion. And some people say, Shelby, well, it's easy for you to say because you do it all the time. I was like, I still to this day can't record a story in front of another human being.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
and when I'm on film or video or any type of thing, like podcasting, like if it doesn't have to be scripted, yes, I can pull it out my rear end and I can like do it.
Yeah.
But if it's something scripted or I'm launching like DGML this year, like I had a
Yeah.
teleprompter because it would take me 2 hours, if not. Because
Yeah.
just because I do it all the time doesn't mean it's easier for me. Just
Yeah.
because I do it all the time doesn't mean I want to do it. I
Yeah.
just know my goal and how to get there, and I have to do certain things, even if it's super freaking uncomfortable to do it. And so when
Yes.
I tell people that, I'm like, you don't get less nervous, you don't get better. Yes, you do over time. You just get used to the nerves and the
Yeah.
imposter syndrome and the failure and like all those
Yeah.
things that you felt from day one, like you still feel it in a different capacity. If you're ready to break through that small town mentality and take your business, brand, or corporate jobs to the next level, then Damn Good Marketing Live 2024 is for you. Now picture yourself surrounded by a community of like-minded individuals, all hungry for growth and success. DGML is your gateway to unparalleled networking opportunities and invaluable insights from industry experts. If you're ready to move that needle in your business and embrace a transformative experience, then I invite you to join us at DGML this year. Trust me, I've been in your shoes searching for that missing piece, and now I'm bringing it back to Louisiana because I know firsthand the power of putting yourself in the room. Because once you do, you'll be amazed by the transformation. So don't miss out. Secure your spot to Damn Good Marketing Live 2024. Check the link below in the description and let us know if you have any questions. I want you to touch on just a little bit because you throw events too. You have a community. You have all of like these things that some people just aren't used to or don't know necessarily how to do it. But what is the power of getting in the room and actually investing in yourself to be in a room full of people that they're ready to take themselves to the next level and surrounding yourself with people that think on a different level than maybe the people that you're surrounding yourself with now?
Yeah, I think that, gosh, the journey of entrepreneurship, especially if you're in the digital space, which a lot of women are, it can be so lonely. And I think that it can feel like, what's the point? This is so lonely. We're just like behind a computer all day or talking to yourself on your phone. And so
Yeah.
um, I think a huge part of it is it reminds us that we're not alone and it allows you to get that excitement again and that like energy for what you want to do, which can sometimes feel like, it's not there when you're just home alone. I deal with this. I'm like, oh man, I need to go somewhere and like be around people who feel this like fun, excited growth energy. So man, I wish there was an event every weekend and then I could just always be like filled up by that
Yeah.
by that energy. It's just like you're only gonna get so much of it at home. Like a podcast can amp you up, yeah, but being in a room where you're actually feeling people, oh my gosh, it's like the most intoxicating, fun thing ever. And especially women who also get you. I mean, most of my best friends have come from masterminds and events and being in the entrepreneurial space because I met them at events or we were both speaking at the event. So it's like that just, yeah, that, to me, it's like those are now my female friendships, which is so important. And so you just don't know what's going to happen there. You have to almost go in with the mindset of like, yeah, this is business, but also like just for your personal mental health or your relationships, like you should have at least a few women in your life that you feel like you can talk to about this stuff and who don't think you're crazy. And the small town mentality, something I wanted to even ask you that I think is so fascinating is like, yeah, I'm from a really small town outside of Chicago, and it's like there the mentality is like if you're a mom, like you're not having like any ambitions outside of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's such an interesting thing because I don't think there's a right answer to this or wrong. I think being a mother is arguably the most important job in the world and I can't wait and it will be definitely my purpose and my work will just be like my creative outlet, but it's like how do you dance with that? Because I think that also I assume a lot of moms come to your stuff and like that's the thing I get a lot now is like they feel like, well, like, oh my gosh, like I want to do something in addition to my kids. And like I have shame around that, or I feel guilt, or I feel awkward, or like, why are kids not filling them up enough? Like, shouldn't that fill your purpose tank? Shouldn't that be enough? And for some women, it's not. And that's
Yeah.
such an interesting conversation because I'm in the season right before it where I'm like, I almost like I see both sides. I'm like, how is that not like, are you kidding? Like, how is that not enough? Like, why would you want to do something else? Like, I almost don't get it because I've experienced so much of the other side. But then
Yeah.
there's a part of me that's like, oh, well, I guess I could see how, like anything, once you're in it and it's hard work and taking care of children, like you need breaks to then put out your creative energies and filling your dream bucket is different than like your family love bucket. I don't know. It's just been interesting to see. So I'm so curious with your small town if you dealt with that too, because I assume most of your girlfriends are like on their fifth kid, eighth kid, and they're just like, why do you wanna do anything else other than being a mom, you know? I don't know why I'm whispering, I, like, feel bad even talking about it, but it's so
No,
real.
I think that this
It's
is
so
something that
real.
has to be talked about way more
Yeah.
because and I'm not ashamed to say certain
And you had
things.
kids pretty young, right? You were because you're like what'd you
Well,
say?
he's 5. He's 5. I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Oh, wow, yeah. So you had them like, in your 20s or wait, yeah, yeah, because 'Cause you're what, 32?
I'm 33. I'll be
Okay.
34 this year. So I had Henry at 29, I think, and Willie at
Yeah.
30. So
Wow.
let me pour some perspective on this for you.
Yeah, because you have perspective because 'cause you're a few steps ahead of me in this, so
This is how I think. You
mhm.
are either made to be a stay-at-home mom, I think that's the hardest job literally in the entire world, or
Yeah.
you're made to be a better mom working, and I'm made to be a better mom working,
How
and
does
so
a woman know? How would a woman know that? You just know?
well, I used to think that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, and then COVID happened.
And what give me the real deal, like, what why is it so what
I
it
need
because to me, it sounds like a dream and it sounds like a break, but it's not.
So, so this is the thing, and like I totally own this. Is yes, during COVID, I was at home because we couldn't go to
Mhm,
work. But I did work a little bit, but I was still at home. But like, I need a creative outlet. I need other adults.
mhm,
I knew my purpose in life and what's going to make me a really good mom is to fulfill my dream. And I also knew that if I want my kids to chase their dreams and do exactly what they want to do and like trust that, you know, it's going to work out with hard work and dedication that I have to walk in that purpose too.
wow.
I also have a best friend that's the complete opposite. Her calling right now is to be a mom, and she knows that. And we talk about this. And I tell her all the freaking time, I do not know how you do that. And she says, I don't know how you do what you do. It's the thing is like when
Yeah,
you can welcome open arms and understand that I'm going to accept you for the mom that you want to be. You want to
mhm,
be a gentle parent versus a non-gentle parent, old school parent. That's cool. You want to be a working mama as an entrepreneur and a mama. I love that. You want to be a stay-at-home mom. You want to work for corporate and be a mama. That's awesome. Literally, it's the
yeah,
hardest but most rewarding job in the entire world. But I also walking in my purpose in my life and what I want to teach my boys is a strong woman can also be an entrepreneur and a good mom. A strong woman can
wow,
also be working and be a great mom. And me as an entrepreneur, I feel like I can be more present. I can give them more. I can choose my hours, but I also can show them like I'm now working to help other people. So mommy now
mhm,
has to take a step away from the mommy time, mommy title, and go help other women or help other business owners grow their businesses because that's what God put in my life as my purpose to do here. And
mm,
if you explain it to them, then they're going to know. They also are surrounded with people, as my
yeah,
best friend, for example, a stay at home mom. They get to see that. They get to see both sides. And it doesn't make you lesser than, it makes you good at what you are doing and what you're meant to be doing on this earth. And you have to ask yourself, do I want to be an entrepreneur and a mom? Do I want to be a stay at home mom? Do I want to just dabble and have a part-time gig where I can be creative. Because
yeah,
there's so many ways that you can be just a stay-at-home mom and do part-time stuff if that's you need that creative outlet. There's so
yeah,
much now and so much available to women and men. I mean, there's stay-at-home dads. Like
mm,
literally there's so much available for you to fill your cup that I
yeah,
understand children do suck it out of you, but it also is it's just so rewarding and so
Yeah.
fulfilling to say that I am a mom and an entrepreneur. Like, you have to decide whether you want to have kids or you don't want to have kids, or you want to work in corporate or you want to be an entrepreneur. Like, what's going to fulfill you in your
Yeah.
role as a mom or as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur?
It's so fascinating that you were on the other side of the spectrum. When did it change? When after your kids that you were like, this isn't, I need to also be like, when was the switch for you?
Definitely after kids. Definitely after COVID. Like, I
Yeah.
grew up in an entrepreneur family. My parents, my mom was a
Yeah.
beautician and my dad was a dairy farmer, and then they opened their own business.
Oh, I love that.
Together. And so we always saw that grit. I always thought I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't really know exactly what that meant. And then when I went into corporate,
Yeah.
I just thought, that's what we're supposed to do. Like, I was just going to be in corporate. I was like, literally at 23 years old, I had a dream job. I was the director of marketing. I flew on private jets. I literally went to conferences. I went and did all this shit. Like, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I want to be CMO and my life is going to be perfect. And I'm going to make a lot of money. And I'm like, you're not going
Yeah.
to make money. You're not going to be happy doing this. This is not fulfillment. I was so ready. I literally went on interview after interview after interview, Angie, because I was so unhappy that I was like, I'll take a pay cut. I just want to learn from someone else. When in all reality,
Wow.
I took a step back and I was like, okay, maybe this is what God wants me to do. Maybe He wants me to be a 8 to 5 working for someone else and a
Yeah.
mom. That was it. And I let go. And then
Wow.
by the grace of God, I went to California literally the week before COVID, and it was the social media marketing world. It was my first ever
Yeah.
event, and I learned that there was a need for this, and for me to sit and be patient and like hear over and over when I wanted to punch someone in the throat for saying it's just not the right time, or that wasn't the right fit, or it's coming, like
Yeah.
bullshit. Like, I get it, you're right,
Yeah.
but in the moment, I don't want to hear that shit. And so I
Yeah.
was patient. I surrendered basically, and I was like, you know what? You tell me what I need to do next. And after COVID, it was like, you're going to be an entrepreneur. You're going to take this chance. This is
Wow.
presented to you. And literally, it's been a roller coaster ever since. So I would say that shifted after I had kids. And then it really shifted after COVID,
Wow.
when it was like just placed on my heart and in my lap, basically. Like, you need to go be
Yeah.
a social media manager and open an agency and go do this.
Yeah, it's so fascinating because I feel like what you've created is really like you're filling both desires. And then I argue with female entrepreneurship, with courses in the digital space and podcasting and all these opportunities, they give you a lot of time freedom that you would never have at a corporate job, actually. And so you're actually still able to be with your kids probably a lot, right? Like,
Yeah.
if 20 hours a week of that you're creating or whatever, like you still have, like, you're at home and you're at home, right? So it's almost like you're totally doing both.
Yeah, it just really it goes back to depend on like what do you want as a human being? Like, as a mother, ask yourself what makes you a better mom. What do you feel called to do? Is it to work and be a mom, or is it just to be a mom? Neither. There's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
There is what is going to make you happy, because I always go back to this. You get one life.
Yeah.
And so what are you going to do to make yourself happy? Is that being a mom?
Yeah.
Because I always say this. I always say, like, I wish I would have started this journey before I had kids, because I feel like, oh, I could be so much further along. But I was like, okay, let's not say that, because in reality is you don't know how much further you would be along. And I wouldn't have met my husband and have my children because I left to go to Thibodeau, met him in Thibodeau at my corporate job. Like, that all happened how it's supposed to be. And so we always say, like, if we were to get a head start on this like a long time ago, we'd be somewhere different. No, we don't know that. And so my kids being at the ages they are, yes, it is getting easier, but it also is getting harder because they do demand more attention. They do demand more things. Like, they want mommy to play with them. And like, I understand that. And we have family time and all that stuff. But I think it just boils down to who you are and what you want. And so you have to ask yourself that. So whether that's your community listening, my community listening, like whatever it is, whoever you are, you have to ask yourself, what do I want and what's going to make me fulfilled? And if you try one or the other and it doesn't work, that's okay. Like, you can change your mind.
Yeah.
We have the right to change our mind. So I think that's just like, I think that's a fascinating topic because nobody really talks about it. Because as moms, you're like, I'm very fortunate to have a husband that's like very loving and supportive, and like he picks up the slack where I can't. Like, he does laundry, he does the dishes, he doesn't just take out trash, he doesn't just work and come home and expect dinner. Like, he knows, okay, Shelby's worked so much this week, like let me help with this load of XYZ. Like, there's no his or hers except the trash. Like, I don't really
He's
like to
also
better.
working full time.
Yes, he always works. He works full time too. So it's like
Wow.
we just split like what that looks like. What does that look like in your family? Like, he's not the old school mentality of like, my wife is gonna have to do XYZ for me when I come home. Like, no, I got fortunate with having a husband like this. He's loving and supportive and he always does what I can't do. And he picks up the slack and he doesn't make me feel bad or guilty about it.
Yeah.
So it really just depends on like your situation and your home life and like, what does that look like? And what do you need to do to be fulfilled?
Do you find that you're so much happier now that you have let out this like creative outlet? Like your kids can see that you're happier?
Yes, I was absolutely like, if I did this documentary at the beginning of no, the end of last year I let release. Oh no, it was like mid. It's been like a year probably. It's like a mini. It's like 9 minutes. And I wanted to do this brand video because I split my brands. And I had this whole thought. And but the videographer that was doing it with me was like, Shelby, what if we did a mini doc and like you told your actual story?
Wow.
And I remember I interviewed my parents, my husband, my sister, his parents, like everyone got like something to say in there. And I got really raw and honest. And I remember him. We were sitting in the back of the property and he was on the swing and he's like, Shelby, the moment you left corporate and started doing this, there was a huge difference in you, like night and day. Because I was so miserable. I'd come home crying and I was like, I don't feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't feel fulfilled. I feel like this is just a waste. I know I could be way better than what I'm doing and blah, blah, blah. And he said, the moment you started chasing your dreams, whether that's you're stressed out, you're scared, you're over your head in whatever you're doing, you're excited, you're dancing in the front yard doing your reels, like whatever that looks like, you are a completely different person from what you were when you were sitting in corporate. And I think recognizing like the misery that you're sitting in, like you can go do something else. You have control of your life, whether that is figuring it out. And a lot of people say, well, no, Shelby, I can't because financial burdens, because I contribute to our family or I'm a single mom or I financially contribute. We live a lifestyle where we want both of our salaries. So I understand that. And I understand that I could not have left corporate unless I had a side hustle going. So if you were unhappy with what you were doing, figure out what that side hustle is so you can supplement money, so you can take that jump, so you can take that risk, so you can go find XYZ that's going to make you happy, because you don't necessarily have to stay in the life that you're in right now to please anyone else if you can contribute in a different way to make yourself happy.
I love that. Yeah, I think you should do more podcasts on that because I think there's women like me who are very intrigued by that because we're not there yet. So we're kind of like, how does that work? And like, and it's like, I have the opposite story of you where it's like, and I think everybody thinks the other side's right. So many women are like, oh my God, you're so lucky. You like build all this brand and success and all this stuff before kids. But then they don't realize that the other person feels like, oh my God, what the frick? I'm so behind. It's like, I don't have a family. Like you did it right. I did it wrong. And like, it's not that there's a right and wrong, but it's like, that to me has been so interesting and realizing like, there is no right or wrong. It's just like two different paths. And like, and it all just, I don't know, ends up being kind of the same in the end anyway, but it's like very interesting because I can't regret that I spent most of my 20s just like hustling and working and like building this brand, And so and I didn't meet Clay till 29. So it's like, I didn't do the whole typical small town, like meet your guy at 22 and have your kids, have all your kids by 30. And like,
right.
I didn't do that. And part of me is like sad I didn't actually. Now I'm like, shit, I messed up. But then other parts like, no, like I have to see the beauty in that because I learned so much about myself and I was able to build this brand and do these things. And now I'm so ready for that other season because I got this out of my system and also like saw like, I don't know, now it's like, I can figure out a way to integrate both then, where I wouldn't have been able to at like 22. So it's just interesting how everyone's like everybody thinks the other way sometimes is better. And it's like, it's not, there's pros and cons to both,
Yeah. And I think what has happened with the world now is that social media has heightened this of like what looks right and what looks wrong and what looks easy and what looks not. And
that's where I think it messes me up. I'm like, that looks easier. It's like, it's not necessarily easy.
You are on your own timeline. There's no right or wrong. So like, think about it like this, Angie, like if you would have met that guy at 22 years old, you could possibly have kids, but be divorced by now, because then you wouldn't be pursuing your dream and you wouldn't be walking in the purpose that you're supposed to be walking in and making yourself happy. So like, I tell people this, like things happen, even though sometimes it's like, if you're listening to this and you're like, I really want to punch you in the throat right now, Shelby, for saying this. I've been in your shoes before because people are like, the right guy's coming along. Like I remember going through heartache, or I remember like my job making me miserable. And I remember like having trouble getting pregnant. By saying having trouble getting pregnant, maybe I shouldn't even say that because it really wasn't. Like to me, I was like, why is it taking so long? But it really didn't take long. But like we all live in our minds of why isn't it happening for me right now? When in reality, it's just not yet. It's coming. It is planned like it's planned very precise for you of what is supposed to happen when it's supposed to happen, no matter what the hell you believe in. You are supposed to be doing what you're doing exactly when you're doing it. So when
Amen.
we go to that mentality of we're rushing to have kids or get that dream job or to get married or to have that next client or to make our first million or to have a $10,000 a month or to leave corporate or whatever the hell that looks like, you are doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. You're getting groomed exactly how you should be right now to handle that next phase in life. Because if you aren't walking where you are right now, you're not going to be ready where you're supposed to be going. And so
Yeah.
I think like living in a world of heightened social media and so much consumption of, well, Angie's doing it this way. Like, holy shit, Angie had 1,000 people at her event, and I'm like, still like haven't sold out DGML. Like I'm normal just like anyone else. Like, so when you look at other people and you look at them on social and you look at their life, they're still longing for something that you have that they might not have or that they may not have achieved. You
Oh my
just don't
God.
know that yet.
Yeah, you nailed it. I think that I always ask my mom about this. I'm like, how did you deal with this? She's like, well, I didn't have Instagram. What do you mean? I didn't know if my friend down the street was doing something like, oh, what are you up to? What are you doing? I didn't know like, oh, she's in Bermuda on her fourth kid and she's so happy and their marriage is perfect and she's making $1 million. Like, this illusion now that's sold. She's like, I didn't know. I don't know. You just like walk over and see what your neighbor's up to. Like you knew maybe what 3 other people in your life were doing at a time. I'm like, oh, now I know 3,000 people, what they're doing. And then also add on that. Obviously, I hope most people are being somewhat real on social, but that's not the reality. Most people are putting the highlight reel. They're only putting the good stuff, right?
Oh
And
my God. Say that again.
most people are only putting the good shit, right? Nobody's putting like the tears and the fear and like all that stuff, which I'm not saying we should all like air our dirty laundry 24/7, but I think it's such a healthy reminder to have these conversations with women because I think we deal with comparisonitis more than anyone. And like, it makes me even emotional to think that like, yeah, like you could see that and be like, wow, she had 1,000 women at her event. That must insert in. She must be so happy. She must be so proud. And it's like, I'm over here. I'm like, you have the thing I want. I want children. You know what I mean? Like I would trade that for 1,000 women at my event 1,000,000 times over. 1,000,000 times over.
Yes.
1,000,000 times over, dude. Like it doesn't, who cares? It's an event. Like, so people don't realize that people usually do want the other thing. But then I have moms all the time DMing me like, I want to be successful. I want to blah, blah. I want to pursue my dreams. And I'm like, to me, I'm like, you have already done the most incredible, like to me, that's so incredible. So like, they don't see, isn't that so fascinating?
Yes.
I'm like, wait, so I'm always like, who's right, who's wrong? Nobody. It's like, the answer is like somewhere in like it's like the grass is always greener mentality. Like we just have that as humans and it's so unhealthy. And like you said, social media just makes it worse because we think that, oh, because that person achieved that thing, they must be so happy. Like, that's like me assuming that like, motherhood's like perfect and easy. It's the same thing, right? I'm like, oh, and you're like, dude, no, like it came with so much, I assume. So it's like, I think it's such an interesting conversation that people aren't having.
I just think that it needs to be talked about way more. And like what you're saying is so real because like I'm an open book. Like you want to have a conversation with me? Let's talk. Let's talk in the DMs. I'll tell you, I show up. I am very, very, if not super as authentic and as me 100% on social media as I'm in real life, if not close. And it's because I want people to feel like they can approach me and ask me anything like, holy shit, Shelby, I just started a business and it sucks. And I want to go crawl in a corner, burn this shit down, and I'm going to cry. And like, I just keep losing clients. I didn't get this, blah, 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 blah. Like, I want them to feel like, because I shared that with you and I said this month was shitty or I cried and it's hard, and that I want them to feel like they can talk to me. And I feel like I keep wanting to produce content more of like, what if we all just, what would the world look like if we took away filters and we took away the mask of perfection and we took away the things that is the barrier between who you really are and who I really am? Because in reality, we have access to things that can alter what we look like, alter what we say. And then when we look in the mirror, when it's a real time, like the internet's gone, the social media's gone, you're at home and you're like, who's that person? Because you're so used to who you're showing up as on social media that you forget who the hell you are in reality. And then that makes you like less approachable. It makes you, people don't have that connection. And all we want as human beings, like you said, your mom didn't know what was going on with the neighbor down the street. And now we know what everybody around the world is doing. But if you showed up truly who you are, because we crave human interaction, we crave the real shit of what people are going through. Like, cool, I want this event to be out of the water. You want children. Like there's so many things that we have that we envy someone else is having.
that we forget to take a step back and honor what we have and what we're grateful to have and what is in front of us and how successful we are today, or the fact that we have children, that they have a business, or that we can walk in freedom, or we can walk in being fed, or like all that. Like, that's so dramatic. But in the same sense, like, we take so much shit for granted.
Yeah.
And we take the beauty of who we are and how we were actually created for granted, because we have access to all this bullshit and fluff to make people think that our lives are perfect when they're far from perfect.
Amen. Yeah. It's been, that's what I'm currently working on right now, is like being really conscious of my consumption, because I notice that it can really affect my mental health. And so I like being honest with people, especially being a creator. It's like, I'm on these apps a lot. I'm creating a lot of content, and that can, if you're taking in also a lot, it can be a lot of noise. And I think the best thing to do to find clarity a lot of times is to turn off the noise and to actually get away. Like, I'm really conscious of like, am I making that decision because someone else is doing that, or because that's genuinely what I want to do? And so that's something I'm always working on. It's like, okay, my best idea came on a walk when I wasn't on my phone scrolling, thinking, oh, she's doing that, I need to do that because that will make me happy. When it might not. So
woo, girl, this podcast was something for them to unload, huh?
Yeah, it was a lot, but I feel like if I'm thinking about this, tons of other women are thinking about that, the comparison, right?
It's just insane that people like gatekeep a lot of stuff. So it's so refreshing to just have a genuine conversation. Cause like, I like to say, like, with my podcast, I don't go in with a notebook. Like, literally I wrote one thing down. I don't go in with like preparation at all. Cause I want genuine conversation. Like, I want to know who the hell Angie is. Like, I want to know what you do, what your purpose is. Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we talking about? You know, and a lot of people say that's not necessarily the best way to approach it, but I don't care.
No, I think it is the best way to approach it. After podcasting for, oh my gosh, I think it was like, my first show was like 7-8 years ago, like a long.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Before it was like cool. Now it's like cool.
Now everybody does it. Everybody got a podcast.
Yeah. I remember like this, I had this kid in my like chemistry class or something. That wasn't my chemistry class. He lived in Chicago. He was this nerd. And I asked him if he would come over and teach me how to record an audio file, because I literally didn't know how. And I was like, I'll pay you like $20. Will you come over and show me how to record? And he was like, yeah,
that
sure.
is amazing. I love that you have some chemistry.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the biggest thing I've learned from years of podcasting is like, oh, it's actually not the super polished, like, ooh, look at you. You're in a studio and you guys look so fancy and you have makeup. Like, that's what like the trendy thing to post now, but it's like, people don't really, they just want good conversation. They just want real. They don't really want like super, super polished. That actually makes people more like, oh, I feel like separate than this, instead of, oh, I could do that too. Or, oh, I feel like I am them. And so I'm always aware of that when I get tempted to do something like in the really polished, like perfect way. I'm like, that's not even my brand. Like, why would I all of a sudden go be that when my audience would feel that? They'd be like, dude, that's not you. It's like if at my event I wore, which I don't, but I think a lot of women do, I don't wear like a fancy ballroom dress on my event. Like, I wear jeans, a crop top, and sneakers. I'm comfy in it. It's me. I think if I were something else, they would actually feel the incongruence. They would be like, this isn't you. So like, you doing it your own way is actually the magic sauce. Like, it actually makes you stand out, because if everybody else is doing it one way, you know? So same thing with you. It's like, just do it the way you want to do it. Cause
just show the hell up exactly how you are, and people will come or they will leave. And who gives a shit if they stay by?
Who gives a shit?
Like, who cares? Like, I'm like, I went on a rant the other day on my stories, and I was just like, you know, I'll probably lose some followers over this, but I don't really care. It was just like, I was so sick of like the bullshit, like, I'm so sick of seeing like people that are so good at what they do being so scared to chase their dreams because they're intimidated by the perfection of what other people put out on social media. And it literally pisses me off. So like, I went on this rant and I was like, you know what? If you leave, go kick rocks. It was nice having you. We weren't jamming anyway.
Go kick rocks.
My new thing. Here, I'll supply the rocks for you. Goodbye.
Just go kick some rocks. Yeah. I mean, I always say do it for the 90. I'm not trying to make everybody on the internet like me. There's billions of users with a B. So I'm at a place now, being a creator for a long time. I've dealt with hate. I've dealt with, just so much trolls. I mean, you kind of deal with it all when I put myself out there at such a young age. Like, I'm at a point now where I feel so free. Like, I'm so free from that. That like, when I post, I'm like, do it for the 90% who get you and who love this. They like your sense of humor. They understand this. And for the ones who don't, it's like, it's okay. Like, it's not,
it's okay. It's
and now
okay.
I just, like, don't even think about it. Where before it used to like eat me alive.
It's okay to not be like everyone that's listening.
Yeah, but that's hard. I feel like, especially for women, we like have this need to like be understood and be liked by everyone.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Okay. Well, where can everybody find you? Can you tell us? We'll drop it in the show notes, everyone. But
Yeah.
since it was such a great convo, you give it to us, right?
You guys can find me. I hope this audio is working. You guys can find me angielee.com, at Angie Lee Show on Instagram, the Angie Lee Show on podcasts. And yeah, stay tuned for fun stuff coming up. A live event this year. The name I gave out, but maybe we'll bleep it and you guys can go to my page and see what it is. And yeah,
We'll
go
make it
to Soul,
interesting.
getsoul.com to grab our Soul gummies. If you have anxiety, period cramps, PMS, pain, sleep issues, we got you. So
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Yes, girl. Okay, cool. Everyone, if you like this episode, go ahead, subscribe, like, leave us a comment, share, do all the things. Anyway, until next time, let's freaking get it.